Well, Joe, we have a caller. Our first caller today is Mandy from Washington. Mandy, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Hi, are
Great.
you in Washington State or Washington,
Talk to you guys.
D.C.?
Washington State.
Okay, good. How may we help you today?
First, I just want to say it's so awesome I get to talk to you guys. Um, I'm just kind of looking for some direction. It's been a little bit of a journey. I'm going to try to give you a little background without talking too much. But basically, in July, we came back from a trip from the Philippines. My husband's from there. We had a cousin, or my husband has a cousin, third cousin, that was supposed to get married to one of our pastor's sons. And when we came home, she was very close to our family. So when we came back, I kind of caught them having an emotional affair. It probably was within 1 week. Just kind of like more expressing things in that very beginning stage of limerence. Kind of like
Okay,
we
are you
talked
saying
about.
that your husband was having this emotional affair?
Yeah, like he never had any kind of social media, but as soon as we came home, he'd asked my daughter to get a messenger for him. And so I just had this kind of weird feeling because it's just one of those things. And so I was like, I said, I need to get on here and kind of see what's happening. And right away, I can see there was like just, my dream man, my dream girl kind of thing. And I chimed in on that conversation before I even got to process anything. And I kind of seen that this isn't appropriate how they're talking to each other. And I chimed in on that conversation, and basically at the end of that conversation with both of them in there, they said they weren't going to be talking anymore,
Okay.
and that was going to be it.
Okay.
So, but right away, a really interesting thing is we've been married for 22 years, and he's a truck driver, and he's home daily, but it was like he was kind of just like not calling me or my daughter, just being distant. And I was like, what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
And I assumed that had stopped between the two of them. About a month later, I found out she no longer was going to marry that guy. So I assumed he was going through some kind of a depression because he only was coming home about twice a week, eat, and maybe came home 4 times to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lost like 25 pounds. I was doing some snooping. I was kind of watching his YouTube. So he's kind of watching like music that I felt like was kind of referring to me and all that. So after 2 months, I was still like, what is going on? Couldn't figure things out. And so finally, of course I kept snooping, doing the wrong thing. And I found he had another device. I'm pretty sure he was still talking to her. Since then, I found out he's gone to the Philippines twice. And I didn't confront him he knew I found the phone. This is when the real change happened because I reacted wrong. And when he, that's when he really kind of said, I'm moving out. But his move out just consisted of taking clothes, and he's been sleeping in a semi-truck ever since.
Okay, and he moved out. He moved out when? When did he move out?
September 16th, we had a daughter that went to college. So as soon as we got back, we taking her to college. But he still was basically not around anyways.
Okay, so how can we help you today with this then?
So, obviously, after I found that phone, he asked for it back. I gave it back to him, and I haven't really confronted him since. He has no idea that I know that he's been to the Philippines twice. He has no idea that I've been, I'm still snooping, but I know I'm not supposed to, and that's why I haven't done anything. I'm trying to work on pies. He has recently, he's slowly started coming back around more and started taking more care of his responsibilities because basically he's been giving me a paycheck to pay the bills and leaving. We have a special needs son that's 7 and a daughter who just went to college. And I'm just, today's a little bit more emotional day for me, so I'm sorry if I'm all over the place because there's just a lot.
So how can we help?
So I've asked him twice to go to the workshop. And, he wasn't quite ready for that yet, or he said no to me. But I'm just kind of curious, do I just keep, because the last 2 weeks, like, he's actually came around and, like, hung out with my son and taken him more, and just kind of, like, I feel like, and he was, anyway, so I'm just kind of like, how do I just keep waiting this out and, like, just play in this limbo here, or... Like, how would I confront him on something like this?
So I want to make sure I understand this, okay?
My goal is to get him to the workshop.
All right, but let me make sure I understand. He's not living at home. No? He's not living at home, is that correct? He is not living at home, is that correct?
Correct, he's living in his truck.
Okay, and now that he's coming around more, he's not spending more time with you, he's spending more time with your son, is that correct?
Well, me too. I mean, it's almost like, you know, he's friendly to me. Like, we laugh, like almost everything's normal. The only time he gets a little bit weird is like defensive or anything like that, as if
Okay.
maybe, like, I'm assuming he's villainizing and telling her that that I don't let him see his son and stuff, because like when we just recently came back from.
So when you have conversations with him, are those conversations anything other than just business conversations, like about money, about your child, about et cetera? Are you having any conversations where you're actually communicating with each other?
Oh yes, we have really normal communication with that. I just don't talk about us.
Okay.
I don't talk about us.
If you were to talk about you anticipate he would react in what fashion?
It doesn't want to, because if he does think I'm going to talk about us, he immediately is like, I don't want to talk about us. And like a couple months ago, he actually was like, that's it, I want a divorce. You know, I'm like, what?
Okay.
I mean, I'm really trying not to push anything like that.
So basically what I hear you saying is that he's kind of in what we call the valley, which means that at least right now his relationships with you are peaceful, and you get some benefits out of that in that he's giving you the money and those kinds of things. At the same time, you understand that he probably is still involved, at least in some fashion, with the other woman. Am I reading that correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so in the valley.
I believe so, yes.
Right. So in the valley, this is what we suggest. Now, obviously, as you know, you have to make your own decision. But when we talk about the valley, we talk about a person who's in a situation where he, sometimes she, but in this case it's he, where he doesn't feel that he really has to do anything. Because he kind of, is in this situation where I've kind of got this and I've kind of got that. And what we typically recommend to people is, when your spouse is in that valley, if you feel that things are progressing between the two of you, that the communication between you actually is advancing, that somehow you feel that you have a better shot at putting this thing back together, then we recommend, if you can tolerate being in the valley and you're making progress, then that might not be a bad thing to do. But at whatever point that either A, you understand, well, there's no progress at all. I mean, it's just the valley and I'm not accomplishing anything. We're not getting any closer. Or if you feel that it's damaging you in some fashion, either physically, intellectually, emotionally, or spiritually, like this is tearing my nerves apart, or this is affecting my health, or this is keeping me from functioning the way I want to function because I think about it all the time. Or if it's doing any damage in those same ways, physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, to your son, for example, or your daughter who's in college, then we suggest that when you get to that point, if you get to that point where you say, wow, this is not working well for me or for my kids or even for him, then that's when we suggest, okay, there may be time for you to put up a stop. And that's a safeguard that offers protection. Saying, if you are going to keep doing this, then I'm going to have to do that. Sometimes people refer to them as boundaries. We tend to stop talking about boundaries because people put so many different definitions and understandings of it. And so we call it a stop, a safeguard that offers protection. Not something to punish the other person, but protect you or your child physically, intellectually, emotionally, or spiritually. And so when you say, should I keep doing this or should I not? The question back to you is, can you do it for a little while longer at least, where you're okay with it? Or, and I don't mean okay in like, this is wonderful, this is great, but in other words, you can tolerate it. Or are you reaching the point where it's damaging you or your child or any of your children? And if so, then that's the time when you finally say, I can't keep doing this. And so here's the stop I'm going to put up. If you do this, I'm going to have to do that. Or sometimes you can put what people often refer to as criteria. We call them C.O.R.E.S, which is a condition of what do we stand for? The core.
Condition of relationship continuing. I don't remember how we put it.
Well, and continuing our relationship essential. I can't believe I couldn't remember that. Continuing our relationship essential, or core, yeah. What other people might call criteria, where basically you say, this is going to have to happen. And so a criteria, or core, a condition of continuing a relationship would be this: you must move back home, or must be this. And you have to decide what those are. Now, these are the kind of things where that we typically don't have enough time to help you think it through here. And although this may sound like a commercial, or forgive me if it does, this is the kind of thing we have coaches for. Whether if you call our number that we'll put on the screen here, if you call our number, then you can say, I want to talk to one of the coaches. Now, there is a fee for that, as you understand. Even though we're a nonprofit, we have to charge for some of the things that we do. And the coaches can help you think those things through. All right, I gave a very long answer. Let me summarize. If you can tolerate what's happening for a while longer, then there may be value in doing that if you feel that you're making some kind of progress with him. If you feel there's no progress whatsoever, or that it is damaging you or your kids physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, that's when you might put up a stop or a core. Either if you keep doing this, I'm going to have to do this, or I need you to do this, which means like move home or whatever it might be, or go to the workshop with me, whatever it might be. And if you don't, this is what I'm going to have to do. Now, you can get online and find various podcasts where we've talked about those kinds of things, how to do them, and those are free. Or you can call us and line up speaking with one of our coaches who can help you think these things through. But that's a rather long answer to say it's really up to you and how it's affecting you and your kids at this point.
I've been kind of listening to all those, and it has been obviously very emotionally affecting all of us from the get-go. I mean, it's turned out, that we all thought we had the perfect family, right? And but anyways, my goal is to get to the workshop. I'm trying to, I've been trying to work on myself, get myself stronger, and just be there for my kids. So obviously, rocked my daughter's world, and my son, and everybody's disappeared. But and things are, I feel like getting better, and I'm like, at least with him and I'm just trying to hold off until make it through this storm. And in the meantime, I also just praying to God I can get him to go to the workshop so that he can, because I know that I'm pretty sure he hasn't quite understood everything with himself. Right. But my question is this then, because I told you everything I have gotten has been from snooping. He's trained me well. I'm pretty good and pretty much could figure out what's going on. He's probably wondering. He doesn't even know. He probably has an idea that I know because he knows me well, but I just haven't fully confronted him on it because, your stuff says don't snoop. So, I mean, how do I deal with that if I'm going to try to put boundaries up or, or do anything if I want to do that?
Obviously, it's very likely he's going to react negatively when he finds out that you snooped, because people almost always do. But if it comes to the point where you have to tell him what you know, then you're going to have to tell him how you know. Of course, you can always try not to. You can always say, I know this. When he says, how do you know? You can always reply, I have my sources. Now, if he accepts that, then that's all you do. If he keeps pushing, I need to know, then you can say, okay, I know what I did. It's going to make you angry, but I need to tell you that. But first of all, here's what I recommend. Try to get through this Christmas season if you can. If you can, okay?
Yeah.
And maybe about the workshop, you ask him this way. Say, I want something for Christmas, and I'm asking this of you. Thank you for the fact that the money comes here. Yeah. Thank you for taking care of the kids. But I'm asking you to do this for me over Christmas. Now, it may or may not work. At whatever point you decide to put up a stop or a core, then you're probably going to have to reveal that you know. And there's probably going to be a negative consequence to that in all likelihood. But, I mean, you've done what you've done, right? It is what it is.
Well, yeah. And he knows me very well. I mean, he's kind of, how to pattern us and stuff. Actually, sometimes he is a really good person, but I just know he's got some struggles in life too, but never has gone something like this extreme and far. So he knows that he knows. That's what I said. He's trained me well, so he knows that stuff. But he actually did, went and got his own phone, and he just kind of, got his own mailbox. He just kind of wanted to divorce me in his brain, I think, to make this all okay.
It could be.
Yeah. Okay,
it could be.
That's good to know.
All right. Well, try to make it through the Christmas season if you can, just for the sake of the kids. Okay. If you can.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mandy.
Bye-bye.
Okay.